When Nora Whitfield stepped out onto her back porch that evening, she wasn't looking for trouble. She was looking for quiet. Nora was 32, a junior high art teacher who had spent the whole day breaking up arguments about stolen pencils and unfinished homework. All she wanted was the simple comfort of her small rental house on the edge of Hollis Creek, a sleepy neighborhood where the yards were wide, the fences were old, and the woods started right behind the last row of homes. She had a mug of tea in her hands and paint under her fingernails from grading projects. The sun was low, dragging orange light across the grass, and that's when she saw it. A kitten. At first it looked like a shadow near the hydrangeas, small, grey-brown, almost blending into the mulch. But when it moved, Nora caught the flash of its eyes and the tiny, careful steps of something trying not to be seen. "Hey," she said softly. The kitten froze. It was thin. Not outdoor cat thin. Too thin, like its belly had forgotten what full felt like. Its fur was dull, a little clumped at the legs as if it had been wet and never properly dried. One ear was nicked and its whiskers trembled. Nora crouched slowly, keeping her voice calm. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The kitten didn't run. It stared at her, blinking slowly, and then, unexpectedly, took 2 steps closer. Nora felt that familiar tug in her chest that always showed up around animals in trouble. She set the tea down carefully, stood, and went inside to grab a small bowl and a spoon. When she came back out, she put a little wet food in the bowl, left over from the brand her sister used for her cat, and placed it on the porch steps. She backed away. The kitten waited, tense, as if expecting a trap. Then it approached the bowl. It didn't eat like a pet. It ate like something that had learned food could disappear. Fast, desperate, shoulders hunched, head dipping and lifting like it was checking for danger between bites. Nora watched, quietly horrified. "Where did you come from?" she whispered. The kitten finished, licked its mouth, and looked up at her again. Then it did something Nora had never seen a truly skittish stray do. It walked straight toward her. Nora held still, barely breathing. The kitten reached her shoe, sniffed it, and then, very gently, touched her ankle with one paw. Not scratching, not climbing, tapping, like it was asking. Nora's throat tightened. "Do you want more?" she asked. The kitten turned its head toward the side yard, then it looked back at her. Then it took a few steps away and stopped, glancing over its shoulder again. Nora stood slowly. "No," she murmured. You're not doing that follow me thing, are you?" The kitten flicked its tail once and started walking. Not running, not hiding, leading. Nora should have gone back inside, locked the door, told herself she'd done enough. But the kitten paused again and looked back at her with those wide, urgent eyes. Eyes that didn't look like curiosity. They looked like need. Nora grabbed her phone from the porch table and slipped on her sneakers. She didn't take pepper spray or a flashlight, and she'd regret that later. But at the moment, her brain was on one track. This kitten needs help. She followed. The kitten walked along the fence line, hugging the shadows near the bushes. Nora moved behind it, careful not to stomp or startle it. They passed her neighbour's shed, then the old compost bin, then the section of yard where the grass thinned and weeds crept in from the woods. The kitten kept glancing back like it was checking to make sure she was still coming. Nora's heart beat faster. "This is ridiculous," she told herself. "It's a kitten. It probably wants more food." But the kitten didn't head toward the porch. It headed behind the house, toward a narrow strip of ground where the property line met a tangle of trees and an abandoned drainage easement. It stopped beside a broken section of fence where boards leaned at odd angles like someone had tried to repair it and given up. The kitten slipped through easily. Nora hesitated. Behind her house wasn't a friendly place. It was the kind of area you didn't think about until you had to. Overgrown, littered with branches, and dim even before sunset. "No," she said under her breath. I'm not crawling into the woods because a kitten asked me to. The kitten appeared on the other side of the fence, facing her. It meowed once. Not loud, not cute, more like a warning. Then it turned and walked deeper behind the house. Nora's skin prickled. She stepped through the broken fence, pushing aside a branch. Leaves snagged her sweater. The air changed immediately, cooler, damp, with the smell of wet soil and old rot. The sounds of the neighborhood faded, replaced by insects and the faint rustle of something moving in the underbrush. The kitten moved with purpose, weaving between brambles like it had travelled this path 100 times. Nora followed, phone in hand, flashlight off for now because she didn't want to spook it. They rounded the back corner of her lot, where a cluster of trees blocked the last bit of sunlight. And that's when Nora saw it, something behind the house that shouldn't have been there. A patch of ground where the weeds were flattened in a wide oval, like something heavy had been dragged or had been lying there a long time. Nearby, half hidden under leaves, was a torn piece of black plastic. Nora's stomach tightened. The kitten trotted straight to the flattened patch and stopped. It looked back at Nora. Then it sat, tail wrapped around its paws, like it had delivered her. Nora swallowed. "What is this?" She stepped closer, and her foot brushed something hard under the leaves. A sound like plastic crinkled. Nora slowly bent down and pulled the leaves aside. Her fingers closed around a zip tie. Not one, several. A bundle of them, snapped and discarded, mixed with duct tape scraps that had mud and hair stuck to them. Nora's blood went cold. For a moment, her brain tried to explain it away. Construction trash, someone fixing a fence, teenagers messing around. But the flattened ground, the tape, the zip ties, and the kitten. The kitten wasn't acting like it had found food. It was acting like it had found something it didn't understand and needed a human for. Nora stood up fast, scanning the trees. The woods were suddenly too quiet. Her phone felt slippery in her hand, and then she noticed something else. A faint smell, sharp and sour beneath the damp earth scent, like urine, like something confined. Nora's mouth went dry. She turned her phone flashlight on. The beam cut through the brush and landed on a shape tucked behind a fallen log. A small, dark rectangle. At first she thought it was a storage bin. Then she saw the metal latch. It was a carrier, a pet carrier, and it was closed. Nora's heart slammed. She took one step closer. The kitten stood instantly and moved to her side as if bracing itself. Nora crouched, reaching toward the carrier, and then she heard it. Not a meow, not a whimper. A low, muffled sound from inside the carrier, like an animal trying to breathe around panic. Nora froze. Her skin turned to ice, because that sound wasn't coming from a kitten. It was deeper, bigger, and it sounded terrified. Nora jerked her hand back. What is in there?" she whispered. The kitten pressed against her leg, and somewhere behind the carrier, deeper in the brush, Nora heard another noise. A human noise. A slow scrape, like someone shifting their weight on leaves. Nora's flashlight swung wildly. Nothing. But the feeling was instant and absolute. She wasn't alone back there. Nora's instincts screamed one word so loud it drowned out everything else. Leave. She rose carefully, keeping her eyes on the carrier and the dark brush behind it. The kitten stayed glued to her ankle like a tiny alarm system. Her phone trembled in her hand as she backed up, step by step, trying not to make noise. Then the carrier moved. Just slightly. A scrape from the inside. Claw against plastic. Whatever was in there was alive. Nora swallowed a gasp. She couldn't just walk away, but she also couldn't be stupid. She backed up until she hit the broken fence line, then slipped through, nearly tripping over the warped boards. She didn't stop running until she was on her porch, breath ragged and chest burning. The kitten darted after her. Nora slammed the porch door closed and locked it, then pressed her forehead to the wood, trying to steady her breathing. Her brain was racing, trying to put a label on what she'd seen. Zip ties, tape, a carrier hidden behind a log, a smell like confinement, and that scrape sound, like an animal clawing to get out. Nora forced herself to think clearly. Step 1. Call someone. She dialed 911. Her voice came out too fast. Hi, I'm behind my house. I found a pet carrier in the woods behind my property. It's closed and something is alive inside, and there are zip ties and tape, and I think someone might be back there. The operator cut in, calm and steady. Ma'am, what is your address? Nora gave it. Are you safe right now? I'm inside. Door locked. Good. Do not go back outside. Officers are on the way. Do you have any weapons? No. Okay, stay inside. If you see anyone, tell me immediately. Nora's hands were shaking so hard she had to hold the phone with both hands. The kitten, still on the porch, meowed sharply, pacing like it couldn't settle. Nora opened the door a crack. The kitten slipped in. It didn't run away. It rubbed against Nora's leg like it had claimed her, then sat facing the door, ears forward, alert. Nora stared at it. You led me there, she whispered. The kitten blinked slowly. Then it got up and walked to the back window, peering out into the yard like it was guarding the boundary line. Nora tried not to imagine someone still out there, watching the house. Minutes crawled by. Then she heard sirens, quiet, approaching. 2 police cars turned onto her street and stopped in front of her house. A third vehicle followed, animal control. Nora stepped onto the porch as an officer approached, hand resting near his belt. He was tall, shaved head, calm eyes. Ma'am, he asked. Yes, I'm Nora. I'm Officer Caleb Rains, he said. You called about a carrier behind your house? Nora nodded, pointing with a trembling hand. Through the broken fence, about 30 yards back, hidden behind a fallen log. Rains nodded to his partner and spoke into his radio. Then he looked at Nora. Stay on the porch, he instructed. Do not follow us. I won't. The animal control officer, Maya Chen, approached too. She wore thick gloves and carried a pole and a blanket. What kind of animal did you hear? Maya asked. I didn't see it, Nora admitted, but it sounded bigger than a kitten. It was muffled. Maya's expression tightened. Okay, we'll handle it. Rains and his partner moved around the side yard, stepping through the broken fence. Maya followed behind them. Nora hovered on the porch, unable to stop staring into the dark strip of woods, phone still clutched in her hand like it could protect her. The kitten sat at her feet, still, tense. Nora whispered, Please don't let there be something awful. She watched the officer's flashlight beams bounce through the brush behind the house. For a few moments, nothing happened. Then Nora heard a shout, low and sharp. Over here! Another officer's voice. Carrier's here! Maya's voice followed, tight. I've got it! Nora leaned forward instinctively. The beams gathered in one spot, and Nora saw the silhouette of the carrier being pulled out from behind the log. Then it shook violently. Something inside hit the door. Maya crouched, speaking softly. It's okay, you're safe. Rains's voice came again, controlled but urgent. There's trash here, tape, zip ties. Looks like someone tried to restrain it. Maya lifted the carrier slightly, angling her light inside. Then she went very still. Rains noticed immediately. What is it? Maya swallowed. It's a small dog. Nora's heart clenched. A dog? Maya nodded, voice low. Tiny, like a toy breed. It looks scared. And it's been in here a while? Nora covered her mouth. She felt heat flood her eyes. The officers scanned the area with flashlights, sweeping the trees. Rains spoke into his radio. We need another unit. Possible animal cruelty dump site. Also, canvass the area. There may be a suspect nearby. Nora's stomach turned. A suspect. Nearby. The thought made her knees feel weak. Maya carefully lifted the carrier and started walking it toward the fence line. The dog inside let out a muffled yelp, then a series of frantic scrapes. Maya stopped, adjusting the blanket over the carrier to reduce stimulation. "Easy," she murmured. "You're okay." Just as she reached the broken fence, Nora heard something else from the woods. A different sound, not inside the carrier. A quick rustle, heavy, purposeful, like someone moving fast through brush. Rains snapped his head toward it. "Stop!" he shouted into the darkness. "Police!" The woods answered with silence. Then another rustle, farther away, and then the sound of footsteps sprinting through leaves. Rains and his partner took off. Nora's breath caught in her throat. She couldn't see them now, only the bouncing beams of their flashlights cutting between tree trunks as they chased someone into the dark. Maya hurried the carrier through the fence and toward Nora's porch, face tight. "Ma'am," she said quickly, "can I bring this dog onto your porch for a second? It's safer here." "Yes," Nora breathed. "Yes, of course." Maya set the carrier down gently. Through the plastic grid door, Nora saw a tiny dog. White fur stained grey, eyes huge and wet, body pressed into the back corner like it wanted to disappear. Nora felt something in her chest twist. "That poor baby!" The kitten stepped forward and sniffed the carrier, then sat beside it like it was standing watch again. Maya exhaled, eyes flicking toward the woods. "Your kitten led you to this?" Nora nodded slowly. "I thought it just wanted food. It kept looking back at me, like it needed me to follow." Maya's expression softened. "Animals do that sometimes. They seek help when they can't fix something themselves." Nora stared at the kitten like she was seeing it for the first time, not as a stray, as a guide. Then Officer Raines's voice crackled from the radio on Maya's shoulder. "Suspect fled through the easement, lost visual, setting up perimeter." Nora's stomach dropped. They didn't catch whoever was back there, meaning someone had been close enough to hear her, to see her, and run. The neighborhood turned into a low-grade emergency scene in less than 20 minutes. More patrol cars arrived. Flashing lights painted the trees in alternating red and blue. Officers moved in pairs along the fence line with flashlights, checking the easement trail behind the houses. Nora sat on her porch steps, arms wrapped around herself, watching Maya check the small dog through the carrier door. The dog had stopped thrashing now, but it was still trembling. Its breath fogged the plastic. Maya spoke gently, almost like a lullaby. "You're okay. You're safe. No one's going to hurt you." The kitten stayed beside the carrier, tail tucked neatly around its paws. It looked toward the woods, ears angled forward. Nora couldn't stop staring at it. "You saved that dog," she whispered. The kitten blinked, then pressed its head against Nora's knee. Officer Raines returned about 10 minutes later, jaw tight. "No sign," he said, "but we have enough here to take this seriously." He crouched near the porch, keeping his voice low. "Ma'am, I need you to tell me everything again from the top, slowly." Nora took a shaking breath and explained. The kitten, the feeding, the way it led her behind the house, the flattened weeds, the zip ties, the duct tape, the hidden carrier, the muffled animal sounds, the rustle of someone nearby. Raines listened without interrupting, eyes focused. When she finished, he nodded once. "Okay," he said, "we're going to search that area with more light. There may be more animals or evidence." Nora swallowed. "More?" Maya looked up sharply, and in that moment, Nora realized Maya had been thinking the same thing. Raines stood, speaking into his radio, then turned back. "Do you have any outdoor cameras?" he asked. Nora shook her head. "No, I rent. The landlord never installed any." Raines frowned slightly. "All right, we'll check nearby houses for doorbell cams. It'll help establish a timeline." Nora stared past him at the dark strip of woods. "What if whoever did this comes back?" she asked quietly. Raines didn't sugarcoat it. "That's why we're here. We'll keep patrols in the area tonight. Nora nodded, but fear still prickled at the back of her neck. Then the kitten stood. It moved to the edge of the porch, staring toward the side yard, and it made a sound, short, urgent. A meow that didn't sound like hunger. It sounded like, "There's more." Nora's stomach tightened. "What is it doing?" Maya watched the kitten, then looked at Rains. "It's alerting," she said. "That's not a normal feed me behavior. It's focused." Rains's eyes narrowed. "You think it's leading again?" The kitten stepped off the porch, walked toward the side yard, and stopped, looking back at them. Nora's blood turned to ice. "No," she whispered. "Please, no." But the kitten did it again, looked back, waited, then took a few more steps. Maya stood slowly, slipping on thicker gloves. "Officer, we should follow. Carefully. If there's more evidence or another animal, we need to secure it." Rains nodded. "We do it with lights and backup. Nora stays here." Nora's mouth opened automatically. Ma'am," Rains said firmly. "You did enough. You did the hard part. Stay put." Nora nodded, heart pounding, as Rains signaled to 2 other officers. They moved with Maya behind the kitten, flashlights sweeping. The kitten walked with the same strange certainty as before, straight toward the broken fence, then through it into the woods. This time the officers followed in a tight formation, lights cutting through brush, boots crunching leaves. Nora stayed on the porch, hugging herself, staring into the darkness where the lights moved like fireflies. Minutes passed, then a voice called out, an officer's voice, loud enough for Nora to hear. "Found something!" Nora's stomach dropped. Maya's voice followed, tense. "Oh my God!" Nora stood without meaning to. "What is it?" she whispered to herself. Then the lights shifted and Nora saw them lifting something from the ground, something long and dark, half covered in a tarp. Rains's voice came, tight and controlled. "Do not touch it with bare hands. Bag it." Another officer. "This looks like someone's been using this spot." Nora's hands flew to her mouth. She felt dizzy. Maya's voice again, closer now. "There's another carrier." Another carrier. Nora's knees went weak. She grabbed the porch railing. The officers returned through the fence line, and Nora's heart sank further when she saw they weren't carrying 1 carrier. They were carrying 2. One was the small one Maya already had on the porch. The second was bigger, metal bars, like it was meant for a medium dog. It was smeared with mud, and one side had scratch marks, deep, frantic gouges. Maya set it down carefully. Inside, in the beam of her flashlight, Nora saw movement, slow and weak. A cat, not the kitten, an adult cat, curled tightly, eyes half closed, ribs visible, and beside it, barely moving, was something smaller. A kitten, another kitten. Nora made a sound that was half sob, half gasp. "No!" Maya's face tightened. "They're alive," she said quickly, as if saying it out loud made it more real. "They're alive, but they're in bad shape." Rains turned to one of the officers. "Get animal control transport here now, and call for a vet emergency intake." Nora stared at the kitten that had led them. It stood beside the second carrier, tail flicking once, as if it was satisfied, and still worried, as if it had been trying to show them everything from the start. Maya crouched, peering closer into the larger carrier. "This adult cat," she murmured. "It might be the kitten's mother." Nora's heart twisted painfully. So the kitten hadn't just been hungry, it had been desperate. It had been searching for help for its family. Rains's partner approached with an evidence bag, holding up a strip of duct tape found under the tarp. "This isn't random dumping," he said. "Someone set up back here." Rains nodded grimly. That means it could be happening more than once. Nora swallowed hard. What was under the tarp? Rains hesitated. Then he answered honestly, voice low. "A makeshift area," he said. "Trash, more zip ties, a few food wrappers, and marks where cages have been sitting." Nora stared. Like someone was keeping them back there? Rains's eyes hardened. That's what it looks like. Maya looked up at Nora, expression serious but gentle. Your kitten may have escaped, she said, and it came to you because it couldn't free the others. Nora's eyes filled again. She looked down at the kitten, this small, thin creature that had somehow found the one person nearby who would follow. I thought it was just a stray, Nora whispered, voice breaking. The kitten rubbed against her leg again, then sat, calm now, like it finally believed it had done its job. A van pulled up, animal control transport. 2 more officers arrived. The scene became organized, procedural, carriers labeled, animals assessed, evidence photographed. But Nora barely saw any of that. She only saw the animals, tiny bodies, frightened eyes, pulled from hidden darkness because one kitten had refused to give up. Officer Rains returned to Nora once the carriers were loaded. Ma'am, he said, we'll need a statement tomorrow in daylight too, and we'll be asking neighbours for any camera footage from today. Nora nodded, voice small. Are they going to be okay? Maya overheard and answered gently. They have a chance, she said. A good chance, because you acted fast. Nora looked at the kitten again. And this one? She asked. What happens to my kitten? Maya smiled faintly. If you want it, we can arrange a medical check and a foster hold, but after tonight, I'm not sure it'll want to leave you. The kitten looked up at Nora as if it understood the conversation. Nora let out a shaky laugh through tears. Yeah, she whispered. I don't think it's going anywhere. Behind the house, the woods were still dark, still full of secrets. But tonight, something had changed. Because someone had tried to hide cruelty back there, and a kitten, small enough to be ignored, had dragged it into the light.